Hey guys, what is up? This is Mr. A. Crizzy here, and in today's movie review, I'm gonna be doing a movie review on the 2023 movie, which came out at the end of March on March 31st of 2023. And I remember when this movie first came out. I remember when I was working at Regal, like when some moviegoers were going to see this movie, they actually gave out like free posters for this movie as well as free maps, to blend in with the theme of the movie. And so I also recently watched it on Paramount Plus before getting this Blu-ray today. And that's good and that's gonna be on Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is based on the board game of the same name, Dungeons and Dragons. And the story about it goes like this. I'm gonna read on the back of the Blu-ray. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers undertake an epic heist to retrieve a lost relic. But things go dangerously awry when they run awful to the wrong people in this hilarious action-packed thrill ride critics are calling the best movie of the year, starring Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and Hugh Grant. Also starring Justice Smith as well, from the guy from Pokemon Detective Pikachu and Jurassic World Dominion and Fallen Kingdom. Yeah. So, like I said, I recently watched this movie on Paramount Plus, and surprisingly, I actually enjoyed this movie. I thought it was pretty fun. Because, like I said, I remember when this movie first came out, when I remember seeing trailers for this movie, the trailers for this movie didn't really interest me. At first I was thinking, I wasn't really that interested in checking this movie out at my local Regal movie theater. I mean, my Uncle Charles said he was interested in checking this film out. But of course, me and my dad disagreed with him, and we were both out seeing this film. But it's and I actually didn't really end up going to see this movie. All I did was just work, just do my usual job, doing work at my local Regal movie theater, where it's basically where when I see some moviegoers going to see this movie, they actually gave out free posters for this movie along with free maps, maps that were kind of featured in this movie a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, at first I was thinking this movie might actually not end up be that good. But surprisingly, after watching this movie on Paramount Plus, it was actually kind of surprisingly pretty fun. I actually kind of enjoyed this movie. Yeah, and I can see how some people are saying that this movie is enjoyable and fun, and the movie's also from the same guys who directed Game Night and Vacation, the 2015 Vacation, which was the very first R-rated movie I saw in theaters with my dad. And I also saw Game Night in theaters as well, and I really enjoyed Game Night. And I gotta say, this movie was actually pretty good. It was actually surprisingly fun. It was good. And even the performances were a lot of fun, too. Like, Chris Pine was great in the film, along with Michelle Rodriguez and Justice Smith. Hugh Grant also plays the villain in this film, too. And I thought his performance, was pretty good. And, of course, there are some humor in this scene, in this movie here, because it's basically almost like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but with comedy. And there is a little bit of comedy in this movie here and there. And when it does get to the humor on screen, the humor in this movie was actually handled pretty well. And yeah, because this movie kind of does feel like a little bit like a mixture of a comedy between like Game of Thrones and the Lord of the Rings and of course The Hobbit. And I will say, I kind of prefer watching this movie. I would rather watch this movie than Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon or anything like that, like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Because to be honest, guys, I was never a fan of Game of Thrones. I wasn't that big of a fan of Game of Thrones, not even House of the Dragon. But yeah, so this movie Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is kind of almost like it gives you those vibes in between Game of Thrones and the Lord of the Rings, but with comedy, because the humor in this movie, like I said, was handled very good. And it's basically almost like comedy humor done the right way. And from what I heard, this movie actually didn't do well at the box office. Maybe it kind of did okay at the box office, but not good enough. Since they might be planning on making a sequel to Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, but I'm probably guessing it's probably unlikely since the movie kind of didn't do well at the box office, and a sequel is pretty much unlikely. So Yeah, but I'm actually glad that I watched it on Paramount Plus when I saw it was first streaming on Paramount Plus after it got released on demand. And yeah, this movie was actually surprisingly fun. And yeah, and Chris Pine's also going to be in Disney's 100th anniversary animated film Wish. Yeah, Chris Pine's going to be in that. Yeah, Chris Pine's always a fantastic actor. Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez is always good to see in movies like this. And yeah. So overall, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves was a surprisingly fun movie from 2023. I recommend giving it a watch if you're bored one day. And I'm gonna give Game of oh, excuse me, pardon me. I'm gonna give Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves 4.5 out of 5 stars. And there you have it, guys. That's my movie review on Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. And that's going to be it for this video, so make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Mr. A. Crizzy saying, goodbye everybody, and that's about it.